We have Toni Rose. She's the co-founder of An American Speaks with Pastor Mike Bishop, Raising the Christian Voice. She's the state director, Congressional Prayer Caucus Foundation with Rick Crawford, vice chair, and John Bozeman, advisor. And then we also have Senator Cecile Bledsoe. She represents District 3. She's the chair for the Public Health, Welfare, and Labor Committee and on the Health and Reform Legislative Task Force. And they will be speaking today about the recreational marijuana and have a wonderful presentation. So enjoy.
I think I'm going to get out here so I can see it better.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the invitation so very much. We're happy to be here. I'd like to have a little paradigm shift here for a moment because we've been talking about legalizing marijuana a long time. We knew that when medical marijuana was passed that this was the next step. And so I'd like for you to think about something because we all know about hindsight. Hindsight can come from something that we learned from. It can also come from people that we've learned from. And I've done hundreds of hours of research on this, and I'm going to narrow it down to some consequences in hindsight that we can get from states like Colorado, Washington State, and California. These have all had legalized recreational marijuana for many years. So we're going to take a look at some things, but I'm going to shift the discussion away from marijuana and I'm going to shift it to THC because that's what you're really legalizing. Most of us think about, most of us think about this when we think about marijuana. We think about the plant, which is now 20% THC versus the 2 to 5% back in my day. And then we also think about the rolled up cigarettes. And that's not all you get. When you legalize marijuana, you get a whole bunch of other things. So for example, these are just a few of the things you get. Dabs, which are up to 98, 99% pure THC. And understand, THC is a highly psychotropic drug. It's not any better than any of the other drugs that you have seen create death and destruction in other states. You have hash, which is highly concentrated THC. You have edibles, and it sent a lot of kids to the hospital. You know, if you listen to one of the videos that Greg Bledsoe did on our website, it will give you examples of all of the edibles that are available to people. So you also get to smoke it, and that funny looking honeycomb is called wax. So when they distill it along with waxy substances, the process creates holes and they call it honeycomb wax. And some of these, again, are almost pure THC. So when we're talking about legalized marijuana, we're really talking about THC and everything that you get that goes along with it. These are some more of the concentrations that you can get. They distill the liquid and put it into pill form, so it's easier to take. You have the oils. Now, we heard a lot about oils to sell us on medical marijuana, but that was CBD oil. This is not CBD oil that calms the 2-year-old's epileptic fits. This is pure THC oil that gets you high. And then we have all of the other cautions. Don't let this into your children's hands. Okay? So when it's recreational, the same restrictions that we have, because our great legislators, they put the hammer down on medical marijuana. They put every restriction that they could possibly think of. You can't have edibles that look good, you know. We do have edibles, but they can't look good. They can't look like gummy bears, they can't look like Oreos. But when you legalize recreational, you can't justify those restrictions. When it's medical, you can say, what do you need an Oreo-looking marijuana for? When it's recreational, it's recreational. So they're gonna have a hard time if this gets on the ballot or if it passes and creating the same restrictions that they did for medical marijuana. You're gonna replicate what Washington State, what California, and Colorado went through. We are not so special that our population is not going to be subject to the same consequences that have happened in these states. So let's learn from that hindsight. So, some more things. Thanks. So, this is a dab, and what you see is a dab, and then on the far left, your left, is a half gram of pure THC. It's concentrated. That 1/2 gram can produce 20 hits. A hit is the size of a grain of quinoa. That's how concentrated it is. So, in all three of these states, looking at what they legalized along with a certain number of ounces that you could have on you, they allowed between 7 and 8 grams. Now, in America, how much is a gram? You know, it's this much, you know, it's a quarter of a teaspoon. But from each one of those grams, you can get 40 hits. And you're allowed to have 6 or 7 of them on your body. So when you get stopped, it's okay. So that's hundreds of hits of pure THC. One of the law before us right now that they're trying to get on the ballot allows you to have 16 ounces of the plant. That's a pound. And as Jerry Cox mentioned on 101.1 last week, you know how many cigarettes you can make out of a pound?
A lot, yeah.
1,000.
Wow.
That's not recreational. Or maybe it is for a whole bunch of people, but not for one person. So understand the language of THC. Understand what you're getting when you're voting for legalized recreational marijuana. You're voting for THC in all of its forms. And it's a highly, highly dangerous psychotropic drug. So, let me ask you, I mean, if we could agree that our opioids are a problem. Does anybody say no, they're not a problem? We know that they're a problem, and in the 80s, when we were being told that they're not addictive, this is the answer to pain management. It's wonderful. And we bought it. And our doctors bought it. And then our doctors started finding out that it was addictive because their patients were being addicted. Some of them quit prescribing them, but a lot of them kept on, kept feeding that machine. And Big Pharma kept feeding those lies. If we knew then what we know now about opioids, would we do something different? Well, we know what has happened in these states. And most of the states that we're talking about, they legalized medical marijuana back in the 90s. They have had a very long history of marijuana usage in their states. Washington State was the first to use it. California was or Colorado was 2012, which doesn't seem like very long to me, because after the age of 60, the space-time continuum speeds up. That's like a week ago for me. But we have this experience and we know. And you'll hear things like, well, alcohol is worse. Well, opioids are worse. All of these legal things are worse. So are we trying to be fair to THC? Do we want to give it equal death and destruction? I don't understand that. So why would we bring on, knowing what we know, why would we bring on another opioid? Why would we bring on another tobacco? Because dollars, big dollars, are being poured into all aspects of our state to legalize this. And we have so many reasons that we don't. Another thing you hear is, God gave us this plant. Have you ever heard that? God gave us this plant. Just like, I had somebody on my website say, just like oregano and the pear tree. And I'm not addicted because I smoke it twice a day. Every day. So let's look at what, we have our plants up there. Nice plants. We have the poppy, the purple one's the poppy, not the ones we give the veterans, the ones that we cook down and make heroin out of. We have peyote, nice little mushroom that we don't cook with. We have the marijuana plant or leaf that we've always seen that we extract THC from in lethal doses. And that other plant, cocaine, riding that train. So if you're going to start quoting plants to me and trees and things like that, but if you're going to talk plants and you're going to talk the Bible, I'm going to remind you about Genesis and that apple. Okay?
Good fruit.
So, real quick, my time's up. I'm going to give you real quick. These are some of the impacts of having legalized THC in your state. Your insurance is going to go up. It'll go up 10% the first year, an average of 16% the following year. Your black market sales will be more than double what your legal sales are. You will not get the tax revenue that you think you're going to get for it. We'll spend anywhere from $5 to $10 more than we receive in revenue. Why would we add another substance that we know is going to create these problems? Your children will be targeted because they need addicts in order to make the money and the return on investment that they do. Marijuana users are 2 times more likely to move on to abuse prescription opioids and need higher doses for the pain that non-users have. So, next one, I'm wrapping up. I have packets in a table along with Cecile's packets. There have all the details and all of the places where you can go to verify this information. I ask you to pick those up, share them. I also ask you, bring us in to your church, to your civic organization, anywhere. We will talk to anybody, anytime, anywhere about this problem. We want to keep legalized THC out of the state of Arkansas. Thanks for your time.